In this video, I'm going to share how you can escape the boring, mundane, and repetitive life you might feel like you are currently living. And how you can create a life filled with adventure, excitement, and meaning. And later on in this video, I'm going to be sharing an exact 3-step system that you can use to transform your life. You can start traveling the world and doing work you love starting today. Now you're probably thinking, where do I get off telling you that your life is mediocre, and who the hell am I to tell you how to fix it? So first off, let me tell you what I am not. I am not some internet guru who's going to tell you how to make millions each year by doing 0 work. I never went to uni, and I've pretty much done minimum wage jobs all of my life. And despite that, I've still been able to create the life of my dreams. And no matter what your life situation is right now, I just want you to know I get it. You see, just a few short years ago, I was in £25,000 worth of debt. I was sleeping on couches and in my car. I was paying back £1 a month on a debt repayment scheme, and I had a 248 credit score. I was financially broke and mentally broken. I know 100% what it's like to feel entirely lost and directionless in life. Simply bouncing between home and the office and just distracting yourself with Netflix series and sensory dominant food just to distract yourself from the numbness of your own life and feeling deep down that we're capable of more. And now I live in the beautiful country of Thailand, although I am in Dubai at the moment. I earn a full-time Western income working part-time hours living in Southeast Asia. I get to travel to some of the best destinations in the whole world, and I am lucky enough to do work I enjoy and find meaningful. And now I've dedicated my life to helping people just like you create the life of your dreams too. Now you're probably thinking, all right mate, sounds good for you, but what does all this mean for me? Well, I'm glad you asked. And to help make it clearer, I'm going to be breaking it down into 3 easy to digest steps. So let's start at the end, because apparently it's best for YouTube content creation if we count down from 3 to 1 rather than go 1 to 3 because it sounds like a retention or something like that. Okay, anyway, step 3 is to look at a term called Accidie. And Accidie means to describe the sin of failing to do with one's life all that one knows one could do. You see, every morning we wake up with the never-ending battle between being and becoming. I try to be a good person whilst trying to become a better one. I try to be a more loving boyfriend whilst trying to become a better one. I try to be a more generous son whilst trying to become a more generous son. We feel deep down that we have this untapped potential and we are capable of more. And yet we're just paralyzed by this fear of failure, fear of not having enough in the future, and just the crushing weight of society's expectations. So to break free, we need to understand that there are 2 types of people in this world. 1, there is the deficiency motivated man, and secondly, there is the growth motivated man. Now, our actions in life can either be seen as moving away from deficiencies or moving towards growth. Now, hang in there because this is life-changing and this is really, really important. So what is a deficiency? A deficiency is a need that, when it's unmet, makes you sick. And a growth satisfaction, or a thing that brings growth, on the other hand, is a need that, when it's fulfilled, it will make you healthy. If you have a deficiency, right, a true deficiency, like vitamin D, clean water, housing, or even a loving relationship, we will get sick. So if we do not have vitamin D, we get sick. That is a deficiency. But if we get new knowledge that is useful to our life, then we get healthy. It helps us to grow. So that's the difference between deficiency and growth. But what has happened is society has lied to us about what our actual deficiencies are. Many of us already have too much stuff, and just this continual over-accumulation of stuff has shackled us to the confines of a physical location. And yet we just can't shake the feeling that we don't have enough. We're constantly chasing more stuff, believing these material acquisitions will make us whole, as if we are some flat pack IKEA wardrobe with some screws missing, only to find all the screws we needed were already there in the first place. I mean, can you actually really be deficient of a Rolex? The truth is, accumulating more stuff doesn't make us less sick. In fact, the very act of chasing these false needs, these false deficiencies, actually make us more sick. We've traded Prime steaks for Amazon Prime, and are so obese on orders, our cupboard's belt buckles are bursting at the seams. Now, the psychologist Abraham Maslow taught us that it seems more and more clear that what we call normal in psychology is really psychopathology of the average, so undramatic and widespread that we don't even notice it ordinarily. Society is mad, and when you begin to wake up, you are seen as the crazy one. Perhaps it can be useful to be crazy in a mad world. The consumerist lie of the West has told us that we need more, creating an ever larger number of deficit-motivated people who have everything they already need to be truly content with their lives. We've been told we don't have enough. We have been told we are not enough, and as a result, we just seem to live in fear. All our lives, the political magician's sleight of hand has convinced us that the very thing we want will be pulled out of the seemingly bottomless magician's hat. The tech CEOs have convinced us that the next video we scroll onto will be the video we've been searching for. This shift from deficiency to growth, from fear to adventure, from security to freedom is one of the best things that you can do, not just for yourself, but for everybody else around you as well. It is in best service to others that we service ourselves. When the oxygen mask falls off on a plane, you need to put yours on first. And in order for us to make this shift from living in constant fear to pursuing growth, adventure, and a life of true freedom and meaning, we must get clear on what our true deficiencies are and when they are actually sufficiently met. Because human desires are endless. Unless you renounce modern life entirely and you embrace the existence of a monk living in a cave, it's unlikely you will ever shed your desires completely. Instead, your desires will change as your circumstances change. You see, as our basic needs are met, we simply ascend the hierarchy of needs. So once we have shelter and food, we desire employment and health. And once we have employment and health, we desire love and relationships. And once we have that, we desire self-esteem and confidence. You see, desires will be continual. And to desire not to desire is an endless loop of attempting to point towards your own finger or bite your own teeth. So we really need to become clear of when we are desiring that which we believe is a deficit when it is false. Do you know when enough is enough? To live a life of freedom, free from the confines of a physical location, the confines of trading your time for money, and the confines of your own personal suffering, we have to embrace what we need to not be sick. And then, once we have that, go after that which we believe will make us healthy. If we do not realize when enough is enough, our lives will continue to be tainted by Accidie, and we will forever be running on the hamster wheel of fear, resenting ourselves right into our own graves, without fully understanding why it was that we hated ourselves so much in the first place. We need to be able to sacrifice the shallow things of life, or the true depth of life will become sacrifice. So if you made it this far, here is the key takeaway for number 3. Recognize when you have enough and you're simply chasing more for more's sake. Spending money on things that won't make you happy and that limits your ability to actually travel the world and work on the things you find meaningful are gonna ruin your life. So to interrupt this video, just to let you know, I have a weekly newsletter called Trippy Tuesdays, where I share actionable, specific things that you can do to make money online and create a life of freedom. So if you'd like to sign up to the newsletter, just scan the QR code hovering over my face right now if you're watching us on TV, or click the link in the description below this video if you are on mobile, enter your details, and I'll send you an email every single Tuesday that might just change your life. So now we can move on to point number 2, and this is where it gets interesting. And step 2 is to start where you are. Now, we cannot begin to change our life from anywhere other than we are right now. We have the knowledge we have the resources we have the time we have. We simply do not have more than we have, as simple and silly as that sounds. So ask yourself, how can you begin with the time, the resources, the knowledge that you have to begin to create the life of your dreams, however you choose to define it? Do you dream of going to a paradisiacal beach, right? Laptop in hand and coconut in the other? Or staying in sky-high condos, or staying in jungle retreats? Whatever the life is you want to live, how can you just sort of gently nudge yourself a little bit closer to that every single day? You see, we all know the saying, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. But then it is the repetition of step after step after step which will get you 1,000 miles away from where you actually started. So I hope all of this so far has been useful, but what if you're not actually sure what direction you want to go? That's where we can go to point number one. Now, point number one, or step number one, is to create what's called an anti-vision. One of the most effective ways to define a life that you would love is to define a life that you would hate. As I look back on my life, I actually see it was the fear of wasting my life and actually not the allure of a better life which drove me to make the drastic changes in my life I eventually did do. And that's why I recommend creating an anti-vision. Before I went about creating the shift in my life, I did come to realize that the pain of future regret outweighed the then present state of optimism. I do think that optimism and a sometimes positive outlook is a gift given to us. And for many of us, our limiting beliefs shield the light of optimism from our awareness. I know for me, I didn't think I was capable of living a better life than I was living, but it was the fear of living a terrible life which drove me to make the changes. Really, many of us don't even dare to dream because we're so scared of the disappointment if we don't achieve it. And I do think that for some of us, it can be useful to start with the weight of pain as the initial resistant force, the barbell for our mind, to build the strength needed to change your experience of life. And a harsh truth that we need to accept is we are all exactly where we deserve to be. But somewhat paradoxically, we are at all times doing our very best. If we were capable of more, we would have done more. But the only way to do more is to become more. So in order for our life situation to be different, what our life is made up of, where we are, the things we do, the things we have, who we're with, we need to become more. If it's going to get different, we need to be different. For our lives to get better, we need to get better. And if I look back, this was the real fear for me. It wasn't so much the fear of an unlived life. It was the fear of being a person I hated. The fear of disliking the person I could become is what really drove me to become the person I am now in the process of becoming. We have what we have, and sometimes not wanting what we actually have can be all that we know. We don't know when starting out what it's like to live in a tropical climate, grab your laptop, head to the beach, order an iced latte and get a foot rub while staring out occasionally at the incredible scenery laid out before you. If you'd never eaten tomato ketchup, you wouldn't know what tomato ketchup actually tasted like. But what we can know is that we hate working in a job that robs us of our zest of life. We can know that we hate long-ass cold winters. I know I did. We can know when we hate not being able to provide adequately for the ones we love the most. And it can really be powerful to harness the dislike of our current present situation and use that to drive us forward to that which we believe would be more favorable. Fear drives us towards confidence. Insecurity drives us towards security. And it's these rare moments that we seem to make accelerated progress in our lives before we regress to the mean of the standards we are willing to accept for ourselves. So it is your work as a human being in this lifetime to break through your self-imposed barriers, because many of them are simply self-imposed, to reach the greatest heights of your potential. And even if you don't believe that you yourself are capable of creating a life of freedom, I believe in you. Stop chasing the things that won't make you happy. Start changing your life exactly where you are and nudge yourself bit by bit towards the vision you have for your life. And if you don't have a vision for your life, use what you currently dislike as something to move away from. And you'll end up closer to a life of excitement, adventure, and true freedom. So if you are looking for more specific, actionable things that you can actually do, right, to incorporate into your life and start improving your life and create a life of freedom where you can travel the world and do work you love, please do think about subscribing to the channel, because I'm going to be doing my best to share as much value and as much knowledge as I can on this channel in the near future. And secondly, why not click the video that's recommended on the screen right now, because it closely aligns to some of the stuff that we've covered in this video today, and I'd hope you get a ton of value out of that as well. But thank you so much for watching, and stay real.